And thanks for your help with your guidance on one of the coolest things that we did in those years of introducing open hiring to retail, and the way we were able to touch so many people's lives, and hopefully we'll continue to do so with the new ownership.
Thank you.
I'm really glad that that point came up, actually, because open hiring was in my notes as something we shouldn't overlook. It's such a, I don't know if everyone on the in the gathering is familiar with the concept, but open hiring, I believe, David, means that anybody who wanted a role in the body shop, instead of applying in the conventional say, could just choose to join a waiting list, and when it came to their turn, they would at least get an opportunity to have that role in the body shop and to prove themselves rather than having to be selected.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, we didn't originate the idea. Joe Kenner and the Grayson Bakery team were the originators, and Bernie Glassman, the founder of Grayson Bakery, was the originator of it in terms of having an impact with unemployment in the community that where he operated the bakery. And we were challenging ourselves to say, how can we think differently about economic inclusion? And we've always been passionate about the idea of retail as a source of social mobility, but how can we get people who are excluded from taking part in the economy actually to be able to make the first step? And we got introduced to Joe and the team at Greyston, and were very inspired by what they were doing, and said, look, we want to do something really radical and introduce this into retail stores. Can you help us? And we partnered over a number of years and continue to partner on that journey. And so far, I believe it's going on for about 5,000 people who've previously been excluded from the workplace have had the opportunity because they have been able to make the first step into the workplace through open hiring at the body shop. And I think just one really important point to make on that, because it is a big step when you make a decision in a cosmetic store where you're delivering a service experience. There is a standard of performance that's required, right? So the key thing that the open hiring process does is remove the barrier to entry. But then once you're in, we make it very clear the standard of performance that has to be achieved, but then we make sure that we're providing the right level of support to really enable that person to be able to meet the standard. And sometimes, of course, it gets to the stage where somebody can't make it, and then we respectfully separate. But at least that individual has had the opportunity of being back in the workplace for a number of weeks or months, and has had a first step that's hopefully going to lead to another step somewhere else.
And it really fascinated me when I came across it, because you would think of some of the in-store roles as being somewhat entry-level jobs typically, but actually in the case of the body shop, people working in store are having to talk about quite delicate ethical issues in an era of cancel culture, at a time when people can take offense when a position, and these are not just always obvious positions. I mean, on extending the voting franchise to 16-year-olds, for example, it is plausible to legitimately have an argument against that. And so that making a success of open hiring for these roles that include having to talk to people about issues that I think any of us would want to do a bit of prep before being exposed on them is really quite significant.